Hey guys, it's that time again in the week when you're starting to wonder where we're gonna go fishing. Well, stand by because we're going to give you the lowdown on what's happening along the coast, offshore, and in fresh water. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by YAMAHA.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, and this week we're doing something a little different than the norm. We've had our guides and captains add a theme component into their normal reports, and that theme, Rick, is the ever-important bait.
Aren't you gonna do it for me?
Ole, what?
All about the bait.
All about the bait. Okay, okay.
All right.
All right, well, let's let Dave Farrell at the
Come
CCA
on, man.
Workbench chime in here on our combos. I'm sure he has a plethora of things to say, don't you,
Yes,
Dave?
I do. We're going to talk about how to hook up a live bait in freshwater. So we're going to go a little bit different today than we usually do.
That sounds like it's gonna be fun.
Good to me. All right, starting our bait fest off today is our GARMIN Lower Coast region, Captain Chad Kinney. Help us find those fish, Chad.
Oh yeah, speaking about finding fish, that bait stuff, I love all the topics we do, but bait fishing, just to give you a good background, been doing it forever, just not catching netting for mullet and stuff like that, but we actually own shrimp boats, have captains run it, so Rick's been on the boat and stuff like that, you trawl for everything, you bring in a whole different bunch of species, and you learn a lot more about fishing and what comes into the boat, what they're feeding on and everything else, so we'll get into that here. And talking about fishing, it's been really good inshore here out of Port Mansfield. The jetty's really good on sheephead and redfish for using the bait. So we're talking about this. So getting with the bait, like I said, there's always a different season, going through here. And what's available, what's live coming off the boat. So if you got your local marina, like we got one here and everywhere up on the coast, you get with those guys and kind of look at what's the shrimp's moving in, and they might move to croaker, and they'll go to piggies, but you catch a whole bunch of different stuff. So like I said, you can use these trawlers in the bait systems, and they'll get, shrimp, piggies, sea lice, mullet, crab, and stuff like that. So get that stuff, and they'll follow through there, and the live bait, know what actually is, hitting. Like right now, we talk about live shrimp. It'll move live shrimp, and then go later into May here, it'll start moving in the croaker and stuff like that. So the inshore works great. Live shrimp, croaker, winter season like that. Offshore bait also can be caught off the same boats. We lose a lot of bycatch. We'll catch squid, spot croakers, ribbon fish, which we use for the kingfish, everywhere like that. And if you get this stuff fresh off the boat, if you go talk to your local marine, a lot of these guys will be like, hey, I need next about this. They'll have it fresh right there. They'll definitely have it fresh frozen for the best results of fishing. That's what you really want to look for. So heading in, going to the inshore like that, once you get some live shrimp right now from your spot, head to the Mansfield jetties or anywhere in the low coast of these jetties. There's good numbers of sheephead out there. There's a redfish mixed in there with them. Use a live shrimp on a popping cork and throw up to the edges of the rocks there. Pop it really good. You can also try a little split shot and then free line it, pitch it to those eddies and little washouts and stuff like that. And just be careful, you're going to hang up in the rocks once in a while, just part of it. So the best thing to do is take plenty of terminal tackle with you and be ready, and probably have several rods rigged up and see what's working the best for you. Best time to fish these areas, definitely look for good conditions. Look for lower winds, maybe seas less than 3 feet. So if you're in a bay boat or a skiff or anything else like that, you can work around the outside of the jetty. You can work all the inside of the jetties. You don't have to worry about the waves as much. That's for safety reasons, but also better fishing. Look for those currents, like I said, and wash out along the rocks. Once you find a good hole, you might be 10, 15 feet away from another boat for some reason, but if you're getting that hole, that's where they're going to be at. And be a lot of fun, a lot of action, and great for kids and the whole family. Heading offshore, when you head out deeper, try some deep dropping. I love deep dropping stuff like this. We're going to talk about some tilefish and some grouper fishing. So tilefish, they're really great eating. They're fun to target. They're kind of difficult to target once in a while. But the best deal is when you get some tackle there. I used to do my own tackle for years, and you can't compare to this stuff. Just get the R&R tackle. I got lots of it on the boat. These guys make great tackle for deep drop rigging and a whole bunch of other items. But use the smaller hooks when you're tile fishing. Use like 4 to 5 aught hooks. They come in like a 5-hook deep drop. These things, like I said, really professionally made, great hooks. They got heat shrink with a glow on it already. You have the proper mono. Everything's ready, and it's in a Ziploc. You're good to go. Hit those fish in about 1,000 to 1,200 feet. They're going to be laying in the mud, so you're really not going to be able to mark them, do anything else like that. But start slowly drifting. Make sure it's a calm day. You don't want to be out there in 5 to 7s, but calm day, let it drift, and put some, maybe like a 3-pound weight on the bottom, and bait it with some smaller squid. Let those baits lay right on the bottom in the mud there. You just want to barely go through there, and you'll just feel a little tiny tap when you do. Set the hook once or twice or 3 times, get a couple of them on there, And also try, if you got 3-pound weight on the bottom and the current's moving or you're drifting a little bit quicker, maybe add an extra pound weight on the very top. It'll help all those baits lay right there in the mud right there. So heading out to grouper fishing, which I love doing this stuff. There's all sorts of different groupers, but deep dropping for grouper is really, really good. Look for some structure in about 200, 400 feet. If you're targeting, what we're targeting for is like scamp grouper, guide grouper, yellow edge. And when you're using these, use a smaller eagle claw circle hooks. I like somewhere between a 7 and 9 hook, 9-aught. And if you're targeting a Warsaw, put a whole bunch of bigger weight on it, of course, and bait, and also your hook. Go up to like a 14-aught, high tensile strength, and that'll really help you with that one. And if you're getting, the bigger baits for the Warsaw, let them all sit on the bottom. Those grouper are going to like really sitting on the bottom there. You can also get some jigs and jig them if you need to, but on the bigger grouper, just let them go ahead and get down there and get on it. And I got a picture of a really nice scamp grouper here that's over 20 pounds.
That's a big one there, Bub. Thanks for all the pictures this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast shallow sport hotspots. Inshore, Port Mansfield, jetties has been good on sheephead and redfish. Crankbaits and fire tiger colors will work well for the redfish. And offshore, try deep dropping for tilefish and groupers. R&R deep drop rig with glowtail will really work for those tilefish, Brie.
All right, now in the Alvey Reels Middle Coast region, your hookup ratio will be off the charts if you listen to what our Captain Bink Grimes has to tell us. Go for it, Bink.
For years, I've only used artificial lures and wouldn't think about buying a quarter shrimp or cast net and mullet. I used to wait 80% of the time, and the majority of my customers were accomplished bait casting pluggers through top waters and soft plastics. Times have changed. I own a lodge now and only wait about a quarter of the time. Folks who get on my boat don't have the tackle and are looking for me to provide just about everything, including the knowledge. Folks want to pull at the end of the line, and the live bait increases the chances. Right now, with water temperatures reaching the mid-70s, the trout bite is 10-1 live shrimp to soft plastic. Gets that way every year with the warming water. We don't argue with the fish. We like to give them what they want, so we're putting live shrimp in the boat. The first sign of waders tossing live croakers for trout is beginning in Texas as well. Love it or hate it, live croakers are deadly on late spring and summer trout. It's big business for bait camps. For the past 20 years, it puts more odds in the favor of bending rods, and usually that croaker season starts now and runs through September. Lately, it's been a grind at times. Any day we break the wind, we'll be catching some really healthy trout in East Matagorda Bay. It's mostly been on the east end since most of the wind has come from the east factor, and that's where all the leeward shorelines are. Live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork has been the best bet. We're making long drifts and covering lots of ground and concentrating on consistent locales when the major and minor bites go off. Captain Michael Quebecer caught and released multiple trout in the 5 to 7 range with corks rigged with shrimp and about 3 foot deep. He said tides have been low for the first time of the year, and the shrimp is suspended about a foot off the bottom over mud and shell. Trout are beginning to slick on the shorelines in the morning in West Matagorda Bay. Slicking is a term when fish are feeding and the oil from the bait fish they're consuming puts a sheen on the water, much like you dropping just a little drop of motor oil in the water. You kind of see how that sheen comes to the top. That's when you see a sheen, when you see a slick on top of the water for trout, you know those trout are in their feed. Port O'Connor anglers have hid from the wind in a maze of marshes along the south shoreline of Earsford, Santo Bay, and San Antonio Bay. Some are wading the back lakes with small topwaters and soft plastic swim baits like the bass, the sea shad, and the mirror lure provokers. Others are taking a bait bucket full of shrimp and they're tossing corks off the edges of those reefs and finding good fish right along the edge. And then in Rockport, that incoming tide for waders around Mud Island, Island's Bike, Super Flat have been good on Corky, Saltines, Bass Assassins, and the Mirror Lure Sheep Ups. Photo there, here's a photo of Todd Lester of San Antonio with a great fish he caught last week and a gusty 25-knot wind in East Matagorda Bay. Redfish, there's lots of redfish on the edge of the ICW from Sargent to Matagorda. Live shrimp's been the ticket for the anglers working a trolling motor along the drop-off. Don't be afraid to work off-color water. Redfish are sight and scent feeders. The old pros will peel some of the shell off the shrimp to get more scent when that water clarity is visible. In Matagorda, most of those boaters are hitting points and structures along the south shoreline with live shrimp. They stop for 5 minutes. If they don't get a bite, they move on. One here, one there, just keep moving. Others are camping out on mud flats and waiting for reds. Wait for them to show up on the flats with the tides. Toss a fresh chunk of mullet, put the rod in the rack, and wait for the thump. It's a patience game, but at the end of the day, you'll have a box full of reds. Guide Rhett Price said the fish in Rockport continue to hold lots of reds right along those edges of East Flat and Estes Flat. You like tossing lures, throw gulps in the potholes. You don't want to chunk bait some, stow live shrimp. If you like to relax and kick back on the boat, anchor down, toss a mullet on the bottom and wait for the rod to bend. Bull reds are all over the beaches and jetties. Guys are fishing big chunks of crab and mullet, the first gut on high tide, while jetty anglers have worked kind of on the ocean side, on the incoming and channel side, on the outgoing. In Matagorda, guide Michael Quebec said there's more cobia and triple tail showing up beneath the large raft of seaweed. Rough conditions on the big pond have kept a lot of big boats inside the jetty. Both those triple tail link, they're curious fish and often come to the surface to check things out like boat commotion or a shadow as the boat creeps over the deep water. Both are excellent table fare and can be sight casted with natural baits like shrimp and small finger mullet. Quebec likes to have a rod rigged when he approaches a grass line with these late season cold fronts. A lot of those waves are in the calm seas are showing up in the Gulf right now, and we're enjoying what we're seeing out there. The fishing is getting better. Sunshine's been out, and we're just enjoying the spring.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. Great report from the Alvey Reels Middle Coast region. We're going to take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Coast. He says in Rockport, the trout are good. Along St. Joe's Island on the small topwaters and plastics on the incoming tide. In Port O'Connor, the redfish are steadily at the jetty on shrimp and crabs. And then waders have found good schools of reds in the back lakes on live shrimp, Brie.
We're all about the bait here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report this week, so stay hooked as we cast into the Middle Fresh region next. But first, we're seeing what kind of casting tips Dave Farrell might have for us at the workbench. Dave?
Well, we're going to have you suspend all belief and think that this is a live shiner.
I love suspending my beliefs.
Well, it certainly smells better than a live shiner.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by YAMAHA. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. GARMIN, join the club. Sportsman's Adventures, fishing for adventure. And SKEETER Performance Fishing Boats, eat, sleep, fish.
Reliability. YAMAHA is known for it. And it's something boaters value, because these days, few things are built to last. When we find something that is, we hold on to friendships, traditions, outboards. Because every second on the water is sacred. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters choose YAMAHA for the long run, for life. Because reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
For the Bay and beyond. Team up with the best and rule the Bay in a SKEETER. Proven with 19 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And right now, through April 30th, you can buy Save Fish with rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local SKEETER dealer or online at SKEETERboats.com. SKEETER, it's more than a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? or experience the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board. Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. Well, it's time for the rigs and techniques here at the bench with Mr.
Yes,
Dave Farrell. So,
Yep.
Dave.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about live bait, and I'm kind of a bass blasphemer because I use a lot of live bait. You know, I like to catch big bass, and so I use a lot of live bait, and it just, you know, it pretty much takes all the guesswork out of it because live bait is always better.
Of course.
I mean, you're just always going to catch more fish, probably bigger fish, when you're using big live baits.
Sleep late, use bait.
Exactly. And when you're getting bait, you know, the least you can handle it, the better. You know, you want that bait in the water as frisky as he can be, so you want to get bait, you know, on the hook and into the water as fast as possible. You want to take really good care of your bait while it's in the boat. You want to make sure it's kept cool and dark. And if you're going to get shiners, try your hardest to get a wild shiner instead of domestic shiners. Both of them will work. A domestic shiner will work, but wild shiners are usually bigger, and you can catch bigger fish on them. They're a little more fragile. They don't last as long in the live well, or, you know, sometimes if you don't keep care of them, they can die on you quick if they get too hot. Domestic shiners, you know, they usually raise them in this cold water, and they give them to you in cold water. They can last a lot longer. They're usually a lot smaller. They're always a uniform size, however, which when you're getting wild shiners, you can get little ones and big ones. So you have to change the size of your hook sometimes. I have 2 or 3 rigs on my boat, a couple of them with smaller 5/0 hooks, and a couple of them with, you know, like 6 and 7/0 hooks for the bigger shiners, because you don't want to have a little tiny 3-inch shiner with a big 7/0 hook sticking out in front of his face.
So how are we going to rig? We're going to rig this with a cork?
Yeah, well,
Norris raking cork?
you can either do it. You can either use a cork or free line it, but I like to use a cork just so I can keep an eye on it and know where the bait is relative to the cork, you know. And when you're going to hook a shiner, you always want to, on a cork, you want to usually put it up from his lower jaw and out his nostril. You can see he's got 2 little nostrils on one on each side, and if it goes through that nostril, it'll make a little click. You'll feel a little click when it goes through that bone. And it's not so far forward, far backward that it's in his brain, because you'll know immediately when you hit his brain. He won't be doing much after that. He'll go still on you.
What hook is this, Dave?
That's a kale hook, you know, and that's about the size that I would use for that bait, actually. That's like a number 5
eagle claw, laser sharp.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And you could also use, if you wanted to, you could go to use a weed. If you're fishing in a place where there's a lot of weeds, a lot of guys, for some reason, they don't want to use the weedless hook. They think, oh, that thing's going to keep the fish from eating my, you know, getting hooked up. Well, Dave, trust me, you use those, you can catch plenty. You can catch plenty with those. So with that shiner also, if you're gonna free line the shiner, you can hook him underneath the tail, you know, or back up on his back. If you hook him back underneath of his tail, he's probably going to start to swim down, and if you hook him up on his upper back, he'll swim up underneath of a hydrilla or a lily pads or stuff like that. But usually I'll hook him in the nose, because a lot of times I'll be drifting, and anytime that you're drifting a bait, you want to be pulling him by the nose. I got a little crappie jig right here, and you can see you do the same sort of thing when you're putting a little minnow on a crappie jig. You want to hook him straight up through the middle. Right, you don't want to have to worry about his nostrils. Just put it straight up through the middle, and make sure you're not as far back that you're going to hurt his head. And because especially when you're going to be doing some slow drifting, you want to put him in the nose. Now, for a crawdad, let's say you're really lucky and got a live crawdad, you can hook him straight up through the bottom, you know, just like a shrimp. Mm-hmm. The last couple things, or you can actually go through the side this way. Okay. Either way, it'll work. You know, it's a good presentation for a crawfish.
That was a great presentation over here, Mr. Dave, right, Bree?
It was. Dave's hooking us up. All right, we know your guide in the Star Triangle Fresh region likes to keep it simple when it comes to all things fishing. So let's hear what he has to say when it comes to bait.
All right. Well, for me, you know, as you can probably tell from my reports, I'm all about the minnows, man, especially with the crappie. So for me, live bait usually involves minnows. That's the most popular live bait in my area. We use them to catch crappie, but also a variety of other fish like white bass, yellow bass, and even catfish at times. Basically, everything that swims in the middle fresh region will eat a minnow. Now, crickets and worms are a couple of other popular forms of live bait. These are mainly used to target the bluegill. And those three options can all be found at your local tackle store, and even some convenience stores that don't sell much tackle keep those live bait on hand. And another good bait, especially for catfish, is shads, live or dead. Now, the live ones you're going to have to use a cast net to catch, especially if you want the big gizzard shad to catch those great big catfish. But you can purchase the dead thread fins in a little package at the store. Now, as for largemouth, I don't really use any live bait, just too much risk in killing the fish there. But I do have some good info on how you might use man-made bait to catch some largemouth this week. So I'm going to jump right on into that at Toledo Bend. Still got a shad spawn going on, especially toward the lower end of the lake. So at first light in the morning, it's good to hit the bank with a topwater plug, like a popper or a walking bait and a shad color. But once the sun comes up, that deal is over with, especially if it's a calm day. But the fish will usually just move to the closest little sweet spot, especially if it's something they can get some shade off of, like a point or a dock. If the point has some timber on it, there's some shade there on that timber. That's when I like to fish on the bottom with a Texas rigged worm or a Carolina rig. My favorite is that Bass Assassin 11-inch worm in the plum color. And I've got a photo here for you of one of my all-time favorite April bass. Little Mr. Noah there. Caught a big one with me one day there, and it just really made my day and made his. So every year about this time, I always think about that one.
There you go. What else you got? You got any reports from Rayburn?
I sure do. So on Rayburn, the grass is still the deal this time of the year. The shad are spawning there as well, and they will do their spawning on that grass. The best way to catch them early in the morning is a frog, and once that stops, you can stay there. You don't have to go anywhere because that grass is good cover for the bass. So they'll hang in those areas all day long. You may just have to change your technique a little bit. If the topwater bite dies, I like to pick up my heavy rod and I start bombing that Bass Assassin skunk ape into that heavy grass, getting that reaction bite. I use a peg Texas rig with a big trocar flipping hook for this and whatever size tungsten weight that I need to get down in there. So that's all for the bass for now, and I'm going to jump back over to the bluegill. They're a really fun species to fish for this time of year. This is when they begin to make their beds in about 2 to 10 foot of water. So if you want to put some of those crickets and worms to use, now's the time. A lot of them will be bedding on the shoreline all over the lake, in the creeks, on the main lake, just pretty much wherever you go. But the biggest ones will usually bed out on the long, shallow ridges on the main lake. You can actually use your side imaging electronics to locate the beds on the bottom. They kind of look like moon craters. And I'm going to try to get a picture of that for you in the next coming weeks. But live crickets under a cork are the best way to catch those. So put those out there and tug on a bunch of bluegill. Now the white bass, they're still feeding on the point and 10 to 20 foot. That's kind of their depth of choice right now. A silver jigging spoon is the best way to catch them throughout the day. But at dusk, they will usually come up to the surface right before dark there. They'll come up schooling, and they'll chase a topwater plug then. And that's a great way to cap off your day. It's a ton of fun, so go check it out.
Well, that was a great report from the TRON Middle Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots that Matt says we should go do. He says top water is the way to go in Toledo Bend for bass in the morning and then hit the bottom once the sun gets up. And Sam Rayburn is all about the grass. Use frogs early and then pitch into the grass with a Texas rig throughout the day. Bluegills are in 2 to 10 feet of water and white bass are in 10 to 20 feet of water.
All right, so for those of you that don't know, Captain Rick here gets to fish all over the world filming Sportsman Adventures, which airs on Discovery Channel every Sunday morning. But your people, Rick, get their fair share too. Want to see what you've been up to?
What have you been doing without me?
Well, how about that?
How about that?
Are you proud?
I am,
He's a
man. You
proud
guys
papa.
have done a lot of playing around. I wonder who's been doing the work. Must have been me and Miss
Must
Murphy.
have been you guys.
Must
You've just been
But I
fishing.
saw Miss Murphy with a big blue marlin.
She did. That was exciting. I'm waiting for mine,
Okay.
All right, we're throwing our cast net into the Fish Bites Upper Coast and Lower Fresh regions next, so stick around for your weekend report. But before we go, remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and tag us and follow us on Instagram. Also, if you miss a show or need a refresher on rigs and techniques, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where you can see the show posted every Thursday, amongst other fishing adventure videos. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. And Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The YAMAHA 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven YAMAHA reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new YAMAHA V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser! Left flat as well, 2 fish! They're everywhere! Right flat teaser as well! Left flat, right flat teaser!
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
Today's power pole tip is about the travel strap. Now, a month or so ago, I was traveling down to Flamingo, which is a 50-mile drive. Now, normally I don't travel with my power on, but because I had purchased some stuff and had it in my live well, I had to have the aeration system on. Thus, now I have a power pole situations that are active. Now, I carry my remote inside the seat. Something bounced up on the remote, deploying my power poles. So you can imagine 50 miles later in the down position, my spikes when I got down to the boat ramp at Flamingo were only about this long. If I would have had the travel strap at that time, we wouldn't have had any problem. It really works very, very well. It works on all the power pole models, and it's really simple on how you put it on. We're gonna simply go around like so. I like to bring it right here by one of the bolts here. We're gonna pull the Velcro tight and strap, pull it on there tight. Now this keeps my power pole from deploying even if the power's on or if there's some problem with the switch because of something laying on top of it. So if you have any questions about the travel strap, it's $14.99, or we'll actually make you a deal and sell you 2 for 30 bucks. So go to powerpole.com, and that's today's power pole tip.
Thanks for that tip, Rick. Appreciate it. What you doing?
I'm trying to catch Miss Murphy. She's over there on the side.
Okay. Our Fish Bites Upper Coast region is on the line, and Captain Carl Weston has some valuable information when it comes to your hookups inshore and offshore this weekend. So listen up.
Hello, Rick and Brie.
Hello.
What's going on, Carl?
Oh, another great day. Hey,
Yeah.
I guess
We're going right on to bait here. I guess the one thing you can't go fishing without is bait. Inshore bait is usually easy to come by here in the Upper Coast, guys. There are, tons of bait shop all over the Galveston Bay area. They're super easy to get to, and they have great bait for working there. If you check out the area maps, they'll also show you the locations that can be accessed by boats. So, they carry live shrimp, finger mullet, croakers, and these are all, a staple for good fishing on the inshore side. Now, offshore bait is a little more challenging when it comes to deep sea fishing. Dead bait can be purchased at most marinas, bait shops, and area gas stations, while live bait needs to be caught by yourself. But armed with a cast net and a few sabiki rigs, you can surely get the job done. Starting out near shore with your cast net, you can catch shad, mullet, shrimp. Further offshore, you can jig a small spoon or a sabiki, catch blue runners, pinfish, and small Spanish mackerel, which all make great offshore bait. And I think I got a picture of myself here in my favorite shirt and my favorite sabiki rig, R&R.
Yeah, buddy, that
that's a
better be
pretty
your
picture.
favorite shirt. Let me know if you need some more of those there, Carl. Thank you so much for representing. What else you got for us tonight?
Well, we have a flounder again. We're back after that fish again this week. These little flatties are some of the best eating fish in the water, guys. This time of year, some of the biggest fish are still headed back in from the Gulf, so the jetties make for a perfect floundering spot. Fishing the edge of the rocks on the incoming tide with live finger mullet or small mud minnows have been money. Fishing inside the bay along the docks and pylons has been solid as well. Wade fishing in the mouths of the canals on the outgoing tide is a trick if you don't have a boat. Just remember safety first and always wear your PFD while fishing, and don't forget your sunscreen. We have a picture of Shannon here, who never forgets her sunscreen while catching flatties.
Nice. That's a nice flounder. All right, bub, let's go offshore then.
Okay, offshore, we're going to talk a little bit about golden tilefish. Now, here's a fish that's a treat to reel in from the deep, but the reward is the sweetest served in a black iron skillet. We target tilefish in very deep water. Most of our spots we fish are at a minimum 1,000 feet in depth and more. If you need a workout, you can hand crank these fish in, but I recommend you use an electric reel. One exception, if it's your first time, you must hand crank. After that, you're free rein to the electric reel. We use a 5-hook R&R tilefish rig with glow sleeves with at least a 3-pound weight. Now, depending on the current, sometimes you may have to increase up to as much as 5 pounds to get that ball down quick and get on the fish. I would definitely bait this rig with cut squid and have some fun. And I believe we got a picture here of my partner, Natasha, who hardly ever uses an electric reel.
She better not let me catch her using an electric reel, man. It's a hand crank daddy, that's it. There's no excuses.
Right.
All right, what else?
Bull reds. We'll talk about some bull red fishing. This time of the year is always great for the bull red fishing on the beach front. When the wind is blowing out of the north, the beach is calm, and the bull bite goes on a frenzy. Just get out past the mouth of the jetties and start looking for bait. The method I enjoy the most is to anchor up and throw out some chum bags. Bait up with some cut live shad and drift it back in your chum slick. If you give this method 30 or 40 minutes, let the scent get in the water good, you'll bring these bulls in close. And once you find the range, the fight is on. And this is actually a picture we have today of my little sister Jenny with a nice bull.
All right, thank you so much, Carl. That's a great report from the Fish Bites Upper Coast region. It's time to take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Upper Coast. Carl says that inshore, we're gonna go flounder at the jetties, fish the incoming tide with live finger mullet or a small mud minnow on live bait rig, and then offshore, golden tile, fish an R&R 5-hook fishing rig tipped with some cut squid and 3 to 5 pounds of weight, at least 1,000 feet of water.
Okay, Rick, let's mosey into the lower fresh region to see where the bait and bite is on Lake Falcon, Choke Canyon, and Lake Travis. Let's hear it, Matt.
Let's hear it. Let's talk about those folks that really don't like to fish artificials and they want to get out there with some bait and catch catch something, there's lots of different species you can target. If you want to catch some crappie, best thing you can do is get you some small minnows. Head to a local marina that has a fishing dock or some other type of dock access. If you're landlocked, and fish around the pilings, and if there's some, man-made cover in there, fish around that, and you can load up on some crappie. If you have access to a boat, look for the man-made brush piles out on the points. And that's 10 or 15 foot or 20 foot of water, and catch you some crappie that way out of the brush pile. Another one of the most fun things you can do with kids with bait is just get you some earthworms or crickets and go target bluegill. Use a very small, long shanked hook and a small carp and have a blast. That's the perfect way to get kids excited and involved in fishing, because there's a lot of action, and they'll surely catch a bunch of bluegill and have a great time. If you want some catfish?
Yeah, bud. I want whatever you got.
You do. Get some fresh cut bait. Get some shad or some dead shrimp. Fish it on the bottom, and it's a great way to catch dinner and just enjoy the outdoors and sit back and catch you a meal and have fun.
All right, time for some bass.
I'll move on down to the largemouth. Going down to Lake Falcon. Full-blown summer pattern down here now. The bass are congregated on the main lake rock humps and ledges. Throw a big crankbait. That's the best way to catch a big one. Also catching good numbers on a Carolina rig or a football jig in that 10 to 20 foot of water. On up at Choke Canyon, bass are biting top waters and spinner baits early around the hydrilla edges. Later in the day, the best success is on a Texas rig, big worm on that outside hydrilla line. The punching bite, by dropping a big weight in a piece of, soft plastic right through the thick mats of hydrilla, is just beginning to materialize. But that'll get better as we go, and it's a great way to catch a big one. Over at Lake Travis, the bass are schooling in the marinas and the deep pockets early in the morning. Walking topwater plug or small swim bait will catch them best. If the sun comes up, get out on the rock ledges, and that 15 to 30 foot, throw a football jig or a shaky head with a small, finesse worm on it, and that's a great way to catch them on up in the day. I had a picture there of Brian Cotter's daughter. There at Lake Travis Bass. I love to see kids with that big old smile on their face and a big fish in their hand.
I don't think that's going to be the last bass she catches,
No,
Matt.
she's hooked.
Probably not.
All right, bub, tell me about the kitty cats.
Okay, we got down at Lake Falcon. The catfishing has just been on fire. Main Lake has been great for numbers and size. Fishing, at the mouth of the channels there in the main river, in that 25 to 30 foot of water. Try to stay close to some cover, brush pile or submerged hardwoods. Get you some shad, some shrimp, or some chicken liver to catch those eater-sized cats. And the bigger blue cats are being caught on big cuts of fresh gizzard shad. That's a great way to catch a big old blue cat, and this lake's full of them. The river has been super good. They're pulling a ton of water right now, and that puts those catfish in the deep holes in the river. You can load up and catch, you can catch your trophy cat and also have you a whole bunch of them to take home to eat.
All right,
that
Matt.
photo there
Yep.
is Ram Reyes, and he guides for them down here with Texas Kings Outfitters. Does a great job and catches a ton of big ones.
Free hugs.
So, Matt, I got a question for you, bud. I gotta know. I know the answer, but I want to know why. What's your favorite fish to fish for? I know that you guide bass fishing, but what's your favorite fish to fish for, and then how do you like to do it?
I love to fish for bass, Rick, and I like to fish deep water. I want to throw a big crankbait or a football jig or Carolina rig out in that 10 to 20 or 25 foot water, out in open water. That's my favorite way to target them. I feel like that's the best way to catch a big one, and that's my goal.
So, I got one other little thing I want to add to that, and maybe we can link it up here, but I think the reason why you like that is probably the same reason why I love throwing a bait cast and reel, is because when you're reeling back a crankbait and you get that bite, it's instantaneous. There's no disconnect because of how your hands are so close together. You agree with that?
I do. When it loads up, I love it to load up. I can lean on it, and if it's a big one, he just sits there and shakes his head a few times, and you go, ooh, that's the one I'm looking for.
All right, I love your style, bub. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. Thanks for answering those questions. He says Falcon Lake catfish are biting well in the deep holes in the river channel on the upper end of the lake and around the cover on the rest of the lake. We got the lake covered. Use cut shads or shrimp to catch a bunch of them, Bree.
All right, Rick, we've got your upper.
Excited about that. I know we talked about
you just
laying
want to go
back.
catch a big bias, don't
like
you?
Yeah, man. It's like you want to just punch
Let me go two. We've got your upper fresh region guide on the line and waiting, but I know y'all have been waiting to see what Dave has for us at the workbench for new products. Dave. Oh, look at him go. It's
hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal.
I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. This is good.
Oh,
we'll be
come
back
on.
with new.
Don't go to the commercial break. Just stay right there. Oh, my God.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by SAMERATRAIL. Load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. And TRON. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Hey! Yeah! Yeah, that was winner!
Wow, look how many permits there are!
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi reels are manufactured using the most reliable components. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and retrieve rates are perfect for any fishing challenge. So whether it's a side cast or spinning reel, Alvi makes a reel that best fits your needs. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with up to a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
Well, it's time now to talk about some new products, and we had dancing frogs before going to the break, dog.
Yeah, we'll do him last.
Okay.
We're going to start over there with the chatter lures, and this is a chatter lures. It's called a side tracker, and this is a big. It's a spreader bar, but it's a unique spreader bar because it has this tracker on the front of it. And what this allows you to do is it'll swing out 40 feet from wherever you position it. If you put it on in your right rod holder, it'll swing out 40 foot wide, way out past your wake because of that keel it's got on it. And you can turn the keel to the other side and make it swim out the other way if you want to, and go from the other side. You can also, it's light enough, it's made out of titanium. You can put it on a outrigger, and then it's way, way out there, 40 foot on the end of your outrigger, and then you can put a couple more outrigger baits on your halyards if you want to. It's got a big lure in the back with a Jobu hook made for trolling. It's got 7 birds on it, 9 squids, And, you know, like I said, it's a game changer for a fellow with a center console that doesn't have outriggers and wants to fish out wide.
And does this come with interchangeable, or can you buy, like, say you don't want purple-colored squids?
Correct.
You can get
it comes
pink.
in all different colors. He makes a ton of custom colors for the Chatter. That's the 36-inch side tracker.
Tell my man, he and I need to talk.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
Here's the Trocar swim bait and swim blade hooks. You know, these are big, wide gap hooks for using big swim baits, and/or you know, want to have a little extra flash on any bait actually. And you can see that's a pretty good size hook. And they come with all different size, from 5/0 to a 9/0, and from 1/8 to 3/4 ounces. You know, so you can put a big
swim bait,
a big swim bait on there to target just about anything. And I really like the swim blades. They have that extra wide gap as well, and the medium-sized wire so that it penetrates. The Trocar uses that extremely sharp point, and it goes in and stays
lock,
in.
so your plastic stays
a spring lock on both of them.
Lock?
Spring lock bait keepers for correct. And you know, you can't beat them. I love if I'm using a swim bait, I use a weighted one because I just like the way they swim. They just make a bait stay perfect.
Yeah, man. Pretty work, Eagle Claw. Good job,
They do
fellas.
a good job. Next, we have the Bass Assassin. It's the ding dong because he's ringing the dinner bell.
Oh,
you know, it's a unique tail design. You know, it turns your worm into a paddle tail or a swim tail. If you notice, there's a little membrane in there that holds that tail together, and you can leave it like that and just, you know, for a large silo with a paddle action, or you can rip that little membrane and get that.
Yeah, you can tear it like this.
It just tears right off, and it makes that thing swim like a back and forth, side to side.
It wobbles like a swim bait.
Correct. And
It's
and
cool.
for a worm, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they make them in 6 inches and 32 different colors and combinations with fire tails and chartreuse tails, whatever you want. If you come up with a color, they've got it.
Bass Assassin.
The Bass Assassin ding dong.
I got it.
All right, last but not least, we got our bobbin frogs from Chase Baits. This is the big bobbin frog. It's a pretty good sized frog, 2.5 inches, I'd say. It's weighs more than a half an ounce, but it's a hollow-bodied frog with a double hook. So when the bass grabs a hold of it, it just collapses, and it's relatively weedless up until that point. It's got the retracting arms and those, incredibly lifelike legs, so it looks like a real little frog. It's made out of that 10X material. It's jubilating.
It's jubilating, baby.
It's made out of that 10X material.
Look at that one with the red legs. Boy, he's going.
Yeah.
Run, Forrest, run.
Really strong material. You don't want to put it in with your other worms and stuff because that 10X stuff, they'll come together and not do good. And that collapsible body, like I said, it's got a big hole so it drains out where the hook exits, but you can even leave that water in there if you want to fish it down a little deep underneath the water.
I like it.
Yeah,
this
the
thing
big
makes me
bobbin
want to
frog
go bass fishing.
from chasing
Bobbin
Chase Baits.
frog. How
Bobbin
about
frog.
it? How about, Bree, you know anything about bobbin frogs?
Oh my goodness, you two are having way too much fun over there. And
love the
by
frogs.
you two, I mean
The
Rick.
frogs got it going before the commercial
I know, you
break.
love the frogs. All right, our Upper Fresh Region guy, Johnny Geis, is ready to give us some lessons when it comes to finding, using, rigging, and anything bait you can think of to hook up to one of the big ones. So, Johnny, tell us how it's done.
Thanks, Bree. Well, since we're talking about bait on today's show, I thought it'd be great to talk about some live bait that's used in our Upper Fresh region. Some anglers this spring have been having some good success on salamanders. They're also called water dogs for bass. Another effective live bait to catch big bass is called a black salty. It's kind of similar to a pogey. It can be bought at the local bait shops around Willie Fort. Bluegills are also a legal bait fish here that can be used to catch quality-sized bass. And crappie can be caught best on the minnows, obviously, and freshwater grass shrimp. And they're also excellent for crappie. Catching your own live shad is an excellent bait for striped bass, catfish, and the stripers and catfish also eat the bluegills. So if you want to catch bluegills, it's best to use crickets. You got some earthworms or baby crawfish. The catfish can be caught on all the above types of live bait as well. So learning how to properly fish a live bait starts knowing how to keep that bait alive and then how to effectively rig the bait using the right hook, size, the line, and the weight. So there are many ways to rig up and use live bait, but fishing bait under cork to me is probably the simplest and best way. Most everyone who's ever fished remembers catching fish under cork at an early age.
Just watching that cork keeps the young angler's attention, and it helps everyone know when you get a bite, obviously. So it's really good for beginners. Learning where to hook your live bait to present it in various ways is real important, and also to keep it lively. Another very important thing to learn is how to set the hook using live baits, not the same as artificial. Also to how to safely and ethically unhook a fish that's called a live bait. So if you're practicing catch and release, you need to know how to do that to remove that hook when you get a deep caught fish that's lodged in the fish's mouth so it won't kill the fish. This can be done with long needle nose pliers by carefully going through the gill plates of the fish and grabbing the bend of the hook, reversing that hook, backing out with a quick twist of the pliers. I saw this on Texas Parks and Wildlife. They got a great video on their website showing how it's done. Recommend everybody to take a look at that and keep that in mind if you ever get fish, either caught a live bait or artificial. So tonight, let's talk real quick about the Lake Fork crappie again. So if you're looking for a great crappie lake, look no further than old famous Lake Fork. We've also always been known as that trophy largemouth destination, but man, the number of trophy-sized crappie, I'm talking about those crappie that are 2.5 pounds, is equally impressive here at Fork. We're very fortunate to have many excellent crappie guides, too, that can show you how to target and catch big crappie. Our Lake Fork Marina has two outstanding crappie guides. Cameron Burnett and Terry Moon can flat out find and put their customers on big crappie, and lots of them. Cameron, man, he's quickly become an expert on using that GARMIN live scope technology, and he's one of the best I know at finding and keeping up with seasonal crappie migration. I fished with Cameron several times recently, and each time when I need a little more instruction or training on how to use my live scope, I called on Cameron. He works real hard about putting out brush piles, too. Young man's got over 100 brush piles out, and he's got them in strategic places. This past year, he caught 4 crappie over 3 pounds, and he consistently puts his customers on plenty of big fish over 2 pounds. So if you want a fun, relaxing, and comfortable fishing trip, I suggest you try Lake Fork guide Terry Moon. She's another great guide that fishes out of a new SKEETER Solero boat with a comfortable 4-person seating, and Terry also puts out many brush piles each year. Terry's got a good repeat customer base, and many families and ladies enjoy fishing with her as well. So she knows her business, and she's excellent with new fishermen and kids. Terry's also quickly becoming an expert with her new GARMIN live scope as well. You can reach guides either Cameron Burnett or Terry Moon. Just call Lake Fork Marina and take a trip on Lake Fork. Cameron, I borrowed one of his pictures. Here's one of his 3-pound crappie that he caught this last year. And you don't see a lot of those, but those are big old crappie.
Wow, what a great crappie.
Looks like a bass.
Tell me about the second picture.
The second one, Terry, I just pulled one off her daily web post or Facebook post. Here's a customers with some big ones this week caught on live minnows under cork.
All right, you got to cover the catfish, bub.
Okay, real quick, just a quick Matt Cartwright. He throws his cast net, catches some real big gizzard shad. He uses that gizzard shad to catch some trophy blue cats over on Tawakoni. Both the channel catfish and the blue catfish can be caught on dead or live shad. Old Tawakoni's premier big blue cat destination. Each winter and spring they produce some giants. I got a picture one right here Matt shared, and there is a big old 62-pound blue cat caught on a gizzard shad.
Man, now they fillet that and eat it just like a regular one you'd fry? They fillet that? Big fillets come off of that?
No, they let all the trophy catfish, usually over 10 pounds. They catch and release those, and those under 10 pounds are the best eating anyway. So
all right.
Thanks,
Johnny. Got to check out the hot spots from the upper fresh region. He says Lake Fork, the water level's full but stained. The bass crappie excellent. Tawakoni, stripers and catfish bite on shads, and good bass fishing on soft plastics.
We had some big fish on the show today.
Man,
were some monsters.
This warm weather's really making it happen.
Yeah. It's springtime. Well, guys, thanks
for... Is that why I'm getting bigger?
Yes.
Yeah, warm weather, baby.
Spring. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. You'll catch those big fish.
Night, night, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you. Bye.